All right, today we're going to talk about how to train your brain for consistent wins because we are stuck in this culture of losing and we're done losing, right? It's something that I like to call the reward revolution. All right, so let me ask you a question first. What percentage of the goals do you set and not achieve? Be very honest, right? I'm talking about like, oh, I'm going to start exercising on Monday. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to dress nice every day when I wake up. I'm actually going to shower today, right? Whatever every single thing that you say to yourself that you're going to do that you're not going to do, what percentage do you think it is? Because I can tell you that the average is 90%. 90% of people that set a goal fail to hit that goal, which means only 8 to 10% actually hit their goals. And that's not good because your brain is a computer and it remembers these things. And if you're consistently setting goals and not hitting them, your brain has now formed a rule that says this person sets goals and doesn't hit them. Right? I used to be the same way. I wanted to wake up I wanted to be in the 5 a.m. club so bad. Like, I read the book. I was all about it. I was going to get my whole morning routine done before anybody woke up and be ready to go the second I dropped my kids off at school. And it was always like, well, my alarm would go off and I'd be like, tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow I'm going to do it. I still don't wake up at 5 a.m. I completely ditched that idea, right? But it's a thing. We all do it. So it's almost like we make achievement feel like a punishment. If I were to get up at 5 a.m., I would be miserable. I would not be a happy human being. And it's like, oh, I did it, but it feels awful, right? Because I want you to know that you can have a successful business and be happy and healthy at the same time without fitting into all these little boxes that people say that you have to fit into, all right? So think about it like this. Kids celebrate progress. We help them celebrate progress. But as adults, we only celebrate the outcome. We only celebrate perfection, right? So if you have children or you had children, your nieces and nephews or whatever, you've seen kids out on the street, when they're little and they can't even talk yet and they give you a high five, everybody's like, oh my goodness, high five, right? Super excited, ready to go. Just over a high five. Right? When they start walking, even if they fall, it's okay. We stand them up and we tell them, good job, it's okay, right? Forget it. The first time a kid goes to the bathroom on the toilet, it's like a Disney parade walking through your house. Every single step of the way. Even my clients, I reward them when they sign with me. They get a present, right? And if they send somebody to me and they become a client, then they get money. I reward them for the behavior that I want to see. Same thing we do with children, but when it comes to us as adults, as ourselves, we have to wait until perfection, and that doesn't make sense, right? That's what we're going to change, and we're going to do that by rewarding ourselves for forward movement, right? So if you wanted to, these are your goals, right? If you want to complete a morning routine and you do it, give yourself an immediate reward, right? You want to exercise 3 days a week. The first time you exercise, give yourself an award. Don't wait until the end of the week. Same thing. If you want to set boundaries and you set those boundaries and you hold to them, give yourself a reward right away. I had a client who was working at her father's office and he didn't need her 5 days a week anymore and she wanted to start her own business. So he sent her home. She only had to go into the office once. So she had 4 days home where she could build her own business and grow her own business. Now, we all know that takes a lot of work. But the people closest to her in her life didn't recognize that. They recognized that she was home. So she was constantly being called to go help out somebody or, somebody's kids forgot something at home. Can you bring it to the school? And then it got to a point where a sibling got a job and just expected my client to bring her kid to and from school every day of the week. So that was her breaking point, and we had to set firm boundaries with her family. Now, they didn't speak to her for about a month. So goes, right? When you're growing, you have to set these certain boundaries that are going to push some people away for a little bit, but they caught on and they came back. But her reward was you set these boundaries and you're holding to them, right? You're not going to answer the phone on a Monday and go, run an errand for somebody. You're working these days and that's what's happening. So she would get a reward after a boundary was set. Things like that. And It feels really silly at first to reward yourself for these things, but these small rewards lead to consistent action, and that consistent action is where the magic is. The reason that we quit on our habits and our good choices is because we want the benefit now and not later. So we're giving ourselves the benefit now while we're in the process. Because our brains want immediate rewards, right? We're still hooked on caveman times, where if you're hungry, you go kill an animal and you're not hungry anymore. Instant reward, right? Or running from something, you hide in a shelter, instant reward, you're not dead, right? It's like when a 5-year-old wants a cookie right freaking now. Like, they don't want to wait until after dinner. I was a good boy, give me a cookie now, right? That's what we're wired for, okay? I'm going to give you some kindergarten science. We're going to do some kindergarten science. There are neurons in your brain, and they fire off electricity or whatever it is that goes on in there, right? So every time you have a thought, one of the things is firing off. And whenever there's an action that goes with it, the other one's firing off. And when the thought and the action pair together consistently, it fuses a bond. So that way now this thought automatically means there is this action attached to it. It's if you're ever in Excel or in Word, right? And there's your spelling and the name of your business is spelled differently, and it's constantly coming up underlined and you want to fix it, you can go in and make a new rule that says this is an actual word. Same thing in Excel. You can go in and make rules so that way certain things happen at certain times. So this is what you're doing in your brain when you have a thought and an action that are constantly together. That thought and that action fuse this thing together, and it now becomes a rule in your brain. So if you are saying, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to get start on my day, I'm going to have a beautiful morning routine, and you don't, you're saying, I'm going to eat healthy, and you don't, or I'm going to network today, and you don't, your brain is forming a connection that when you set goals, you don't hit them. It's fused together now. It's a rule. The brain doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. It doesn't know the difference between paper and physical, right? Like, it just doesn't know the difference. So when you have these things happen, no matter how badly you want them, if you've already formed that rule in your head, we have to retrain that rule. But if you know about neuroplasticity, you know that that's possible, right? Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt and change throughout life, which works in our favor because that means even though these two connections are fused, we can change them, okay? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it with dopamine. Most people think that motivation drives action, and that's not true. It's the other way around. Action is what drives motivation. You have to take the action to do the thing in order to be motivated to continue doing the thing, right? Not the other way around. And dopamine is what drives action. So dopamine isn't a pleasure chemical like most people think it is. It's actually an anticipation chemical. Right? It's why we check our phones 150 times a day. We're not like excited to look at the blank screen, but we tap it to see what notifications we got, right? It's why if you binge watch TV shows, right, or a series, when the credits are rolling, the next show pops up, or it says your next show is going to happen in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? They know the science behind this. It's your reward mechanism. It's why video games are so addictive, because they have those constant small wins, checkpoints, and whatever you're doing on the game, not stuff, right? This is how we work with dopamine. We understand that the action drives the motivation, and the dopamine is what drives the action, right? So it starts with dopamine. And we do this through reward stacking. So every single positive action, right, that gets us closer to our goal gives us an immediate reward. We find an immediate reward. So if you want to get all your client calls completed in an hour and you did it, you give yourself a reward as soon as that last call is done, right? If you wanted to do like an hour of focus time without being interrupted, and that's really difficult for you, you're constantly responding to emails and answering calls and all other stuff. If you set an hour aside and you don't open an email and you don't respond to calls and you focus for that full hour, give yourself a 5-minute reward. It has to be something that means something to you, but you are going to celebrate the progress, not just the outcome, right? And this is how we start rewiring the things that we do. Because like I said, your brain can't see next year. it can only see the next hour, right? So you're just here. We're taking that giant goal that you have and we're breaking them down into these little tiny micro wins. Okay, so here's a little bit of a workshop you can do for yourself. It's called goal mapping. So you write down one very big, important goal that you have, whether you want to set boundaries, whether you want to have a morning routine. Is it a monetary goal that you want to hit? Like what is your big one important goal that you have? And then I want you to break it down into weekly milestones, right? So if it's a 30-day goal, you're going to have 4 milestones that go with it. 90-day goal, you're going to have 12 milestones that go with it. And then you have to break those down into daily actions. So if you want to increase your revenue by $10,000, say you have to have 3 new clients to do that. And you need, like from your process of doing things that it takes 5 phone calls to get 1 client, right? You need 15 total calls. So I don't know, over the course of a month, whatever that is, I don't do math. You have to do a phone call a day. Pretend math doesn't exist and we have to do a phone call a day, right? What do we have to do to get that phone call? Do we have to talk to 10 people? Do we have to talk to 15 people, right? And if you don't know, figure it out, right? This is going to be your testing period. So if you have to talk to 10 people a day to schedule 1 phone call, then you're going to make sure you talk to 10 people a day. And once you talk to those 10 people a day, give yourself a reward, right? Once you schedule that phone call, give yourself a reward, because this is the behavior. You're now not saying, I need to make $10,000 this month, right? You're now saying, my goal is to talk to 10 people. And when you talk to 10 people, you're teaching your brain like, oh, wait, maybe I do hit the goals that I set, right? This is how we do this with these tiny little micro goals that are actually achievable, things that we can do that align with our bigger goal, okay? And I want you to also create a joy menu. So a list that you keep next to you of quick things that you can do that mean a lot to you, okay? So maybe you like to color, maybe you like to doodle. I enjoy breath work and yoga. So there's a yoga mat in the corner of my office over here. And sometimes I'll, turn the lights out, shut the curtains down, and I'll just do yoga for 10 minutes or breath work for 10 minutes, which is amazing. And I absolutely love that. That's something that will change the course of your business. If you haven't tried it yet, do that. You can go for a 5-minute walk outside. I have a walking pad behind me. If it's cold, you can grab a walking pad and walk there. Walk around your house, right? Like before I had the walking pad, I would trek around my house. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to lie, but I got to get my steps in somehow, right? And if you don't know the things that bring you joy anymore, think back to what you did when you were in high school. Like things that aren't going to harm you. Things that are going to do good, right? What was it that you did? Like I used to crochet, I used to sew, I used to color, I used to paint. Like what are some things that you used to do? If there was a sport that you loved, why did you love that sport? And how can you incorporate that into something that's meaningful and fun for you, okay? But create a joy menu so that way when you don't have to think, right? You're automatically going to have this task and this thing that brings you joy, right? This reward that you have. Maybe you want to go for a coffee break, right? And you want to make special coffee. I know a lot of people do those little, they add all this stuff into their coffee and come up with something special. So maybe that's something that you do for yourself when you hit a reward. I read every single night, like a fun book. And sometimes if it's a task that like I don't want to do, I will say, if I get this task done, then I can read my book. And then I have to hold myself accountable. And if I don't get the task done, I can't read my book, right? So it can be things that you do already and just pair it with something nice. Maybe you want to take a bath, right? I don't know, whatever it is. So find out what brings you joy. I have a candle that sounds like a wood-burning fireplace. And sometimes I light that and just close my eyes. Silence is beautiful. I love silence. But find out what works for you, okay? I also do something, it's called a time bank. So if I like to take Fridays off. Okay, we'll just say that. I like to take Fridays off. So if I work 5 hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? For every hour that I work, I give myself 10 minutes. So it's frilly and fun, and there's stickers and it's all types of craziness on there. So that way I'm rewarding myself still, not just writing down 10 minutes. I have to write it down every time because I am giving myself that instant gratification, that reward, right? To remind myself that if I work, 4 days this week, I don't have to work so much on Friday, right? Give myself a break. So that's something that I do as well. So you could test with that and see if it works for you. But in the beginning, I would say something like actual tangible, not like elusive minutes, right? Ultimately, we're going to have this big goal. We're going to break it down to monthly goals. We're going to break it down to weekly goals. We're going to break it down into daily goals and actions and rewards that go with them, okay? The idea is to reward yourself daily and then weekly and then monthly for taking action, for making progress towards your goals, okay? This is how you rewire your brain. If you think like, even if it was just 10 minutes early, like, I just want to get up 10 minutes earlier, like, I hate hitting the snooze button. I don't want to hit the snooze button, right? If you wake up on the first time you don't hit the snooze button, give yourself a reward, because guess what? You just told your brain that I hit goals and I make them, right? So I'm going to give you a quick little story. Back in June or July, it was the end of June, beginning of July, I set a goal to speak at local chamber of commerces. So I went online, I researched a couple of them, I sent emails to 3 of them and didn't hear anything back. So I put it on the back burner because I was getting ready to host a retreat and I had a challenge coming up and all stuff was going on and I completely forgot about it. And then in July, August, September, 3 months later, I went to a conference and someone spoke on stage and I had a book recommendation for them. So I saw them afterwards and gave him the book recommendation. We exchanged Facebooks and he saw my profile and he was like, "Oh, do you speak?" I said, "I do." He goes, "Well, I'm the president of a local chamber of commerce. We don't have anyone for November. Can you come?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Still had no idea that that was a goal that I had set for myself, right? Like I completely forgot about it. And then I went back and I told my group of friends and one of them said, "Didn't you say you wanted to do that?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I did." My brain remembered that I hit the goals that I set. So it just aligned and was present for me. And of course was ready, willing, and able to accept it when it was there. So it might not happen when you want it to happen, because I really wanted this to happen in the summertime. But lo and behold, right? We do this enough and your brain just knows that this stuff is here for you and it's available for you. It's like there's a little bit of magic there, but there's also a little bit of science, right? So give it a shot. Tell me what you think. If you like the idea, if you don't like the idea, hell, even if you are like, "This sounds ridiculous," try it, because I'm telling you, celebrating yourself multiple times a day will change your life and your business.